Let's go live to the Shadow Cabinet Secretary Andrew Wallace. We've reported via my colleague Cam Redden that it was the Israeli government that reached out to Sussan Ley. Are you comfortable with that, the way that that was managed by the opposition leader?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not unusual at all for governments and politicians of all persuasions around the country to reach out to oppositions. There's nothing in that story whatsoever. When we get visiting dignitaries, they'll visit the PM, they'll visit government ministers, they'll visit opposition ministers and opposition leaders. No story. Kieran?
In terms of the solidarity, though, that the Israelis felt from the coalition position, do you think that Australians will welcome the Liberal Party stance on this? Or is this a situation where a Team Australia approach, a bipartisan approach would be more welcome?
Well, you can't walk both sides of the street on this issue, Kieran. The coalition has been absolutely strident since the 7th of October 2023 in condemning the attacks on Israel, condemning Hamas. We have been absolutely strident in our opposition of the government's decision to recognise a Palestinian state without any preconditions. I mean, the Prime Minister is over in New York right now talking about how they've recognised the Palestinian state, but he's saying that there can be no place for Hamas in a position of leadership. Well, I mean, it's just vacuous. I mean, it's like handing over money on the sale of a house before you've got the house. You can't make these preconditions. You can't be in a situation where you just say, well, we'll trust Hamas that they'll just hand over their weapons to the Palestinian Authority. Clearly, they're not going to do that. They've never done that. If there was an election held in Gaza tomorrow, there would be almost unilateral support for Hamas. The Palestinian Authority wouldn't get a look in. But the reality is there will be no free and fair elections in Gaza. So all of these, they're just words from the Prime Minister. They are vacuous words, and yet the government has made this announcement. It's giving Hamas a blank cheque. It's rewarding Hamas for its terrorism that it killed 1,200 Israelis on the 7th of October.
There are some within the government already that are saying that they've been vindicated by the approach at the UN, by the comments made by the Israeli PM, saying that there will be no Palestinian state, that he's going to expand settlements in the West Bank. What do you say to that? That they feel vindicated already by the position they've taken alongside the UK and Canada?
Well, I mean, look, we've got very strong left governments that are being led in the UK and in Canada at the moment. The fact that Anthony Albanese has jumped on the bandwagon with these left-wing governments, shouldn't come as any great surprise. This has been a principal platform, policy platform of the ALP for decades. And, the Prime Minister hasn't missed his opportunity. He's now got a super majority in Parliament. He thinks that, he can get away with this. But, you asked me earlier, Kieran, about, what I think Australians feel about this. Of course, you're going to get mixed views on the recognition. Absolutely. But, where I sit, the responses that I'm getting, particularly in Queensland, is there is fundamental disbelief in this government, in this Labor government, that they have unilaterally recognised a Palestinian state.
There's some disquiet. Before I ask you about the Trump meeting, there is obviously disquiet within the coalition. As I said, my colleague Cam received those talking points from a coalition source who was concerned about the intervention of a foreign minister from another country into our domestic politics. Do you don't understand or recognise that concern?
Well, I mean, I don't know who it was. Could have been a staffer. It could have been, anybody. But the reality is, as I said, Kieran, these discussions, these meetings, these phone calls go on, on a weekly basis, almost a daily basis. It's not just only government members from a foreign government only talk to government members of another government. It doesn't work like that. It's a total non-story. If one of my colleagues may have leaked this information, well, I think they're barking up the wrong tree.
The Trump meeting, it hasn't happened. It looks like it might not in New York, probably won't, according to what we're hearing out of the United Nations. Is this where you start to panic in terms of the alliance?
Well, I wouldn't say we panic. We never panic, Kieran. But it's been 321 days now since President Trump took office. 321 days have gone by since our principal security partner has taken office, and our Prime Minister hasn't been able to secure a face-to-face meeting with him. Now, I am and have been for some time very concerned about the relationship between the United States and Australia. Anthony Albanese does not seem to be paying attention to this relationship. When it comes to your principal security partner, where Australian governments for decades have taken an approach that we rely upon the US for our principal security, and the Prime Minister of Australia, as a result of many of his decisions, many of his actions and words, particularly against the current serving US President, now cannot get a meeting with him. I think Australians should be very concerned. Not panicked. We don't panic, but we should be very concerned and asking, the media should be consistently asking questions around this issue. It's no longer wouldn't it be nice for the two to get together? This is an issue of our national security. Chris Uhlmann hit the nail on the head earlier. It's a government's principal responsibility to ensure the protection and defence of its people and the nation. And when we're relying on the US, as we are, as our principal security partner, and our Prime Minister can't get a meeting with the President of the US, it is unprecedented. And I can only draw the assumption that President Trump has got Anthony Albanese well and truly in the doghouse.
Andrew Wallace, we appreciate it. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks.
Authorised by Andrew Wallace, LNP, Boccarina, Queensland.